Welcome to Wealthy Mind, where we talk about all things finances, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the surprising. Welcome to Wealthy Mind. I am your host, Misty Rose Gold, International Success Coach, and we are making sure that you create and maintain a wealthy mind. Today, I have with me Henry Sobanet. I am so excited to have you with us, Henry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm, you guys, you're going to love this conversation. This man is super, super intelligent and has personality for days and a sense of humor.
No pressure. So,
No pressure, no pressure, right? So, one of the things that intrigued me about you, which is why I wanted to have you as a guest on my show, is that you spent quite a bit of time as the CFO of CSU, Colorado State University. So, in addition to that, would you please tell the audience a little bit about you, your history with CSU, and then fill in the blanks? Whatever you want to share, please. This is fun.
okay, thank you. It's great to be here. I appreciate the invitation and hello to the listeners. My name's Henry Sobanet. I'm a Colorado native. I attended the University of Colorado, and my training was in economics and economic forecasting. I started my professional career working for the state of Colorado at the Legislative Council. That's a research office for the legislature, nonpartisan, and I got a job forecasting a small part of the state budget. That turned into budgeting the budget with Governor Owens. And then I had a small consulting company for a few years and got invited back and
Mm,
did more budgeting for Governor Hickenlooper. And near the end of Governor Hickenlooper's second term, the Colorado State University system uh, did some reorganization, and I was invited in to be the chief financial officer for the system office. So I did that job up until middle of 2024.
mhm.
And now I'm the treasurer. I'm in a half-time role as I build up a consulting and coaching practice.
Hmm, what a rich history.
It's been a very fun career. I've been very lucky. I did my part of the equation, but man, did the other side really work out. I feel very blessed. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Let's dive into some of that history. So you work for with two governors?
Yeah, two governors and two political parties. Very kind of interesting
Hmm.
setup. Um, I was budget director for both of them, and just tremendous experience, and what an honor too to be
Hmm.
asked to do that job by two great men.
Definitely. So what was it like without giving away details, like something that we're not supposed to know, but what was it like working with the governors?
Well, this used to be a different color, and I used to have a little more hair.
It's kind of like every
Yeah,
president that goes into office, they go in
yes,
with color in their hair and come out gray.
yeah. The aging process is accelerated in budgeting. What's it like? Um, it was very gratifying. It was very exciting. The people you get to meet, and the subject matter that you get to work on, the impact that you can contribute to, in an environment like that.
Hmm.
Just it's an exceptional experience. Hard to capture in, one or two sentences like that. But I think
Hmm.
if you imagine, dynamic teams, inquisitive, committed people. I don't want to say, like it's a fairy tale of things, but most people don't know, like almost everyone involved, has good intentions, and
Hmm.
they're working hard, and they're trying to contribute to something bigger than themselves. Governor Owens and Governor Hickenlooper both very similar in that regard of public service, thinking about the greater good,
Mm,
thinking long term, and both really strong commitments to having diverse and dynamic teams around them. I think that's probably the thing
mm,
um, that I take away the most now, being a little far away, is they were both committed to the people side of the
hmm.
equation as much as the problems that we worked on.
I understand that. And having the right people around you, like I have my mastermind group because I
Yeah.
want to be surrounded by minds that are different from mine. They have a different genius, they have a different expertise. So I get it. That side of it, I totally understand. So when you talked about budgeting, did you do budgeting for the state of Colorado?
Yeah, I was in charge of the Office of State Planning and Budgeting. And so
Hmm.
our job is to put the whole budget request together for the governor and then send it to the legislature. And then after that, unlike many other places, they don't start from nothing. They start from the request and kind of react to it. And then you work with the legislature of where are the areas of agreement, where do you disagree, how much money do we have? Because you propose it well ahead of when you're actually starting it. So
Mm,
the economic forecast can change. And yeah, but I was one piece of the puzzle. A big team, all the agencies contributing to the request. But yeah, a big budget.
that's still a lot of responsibility. So when I look at things, I look at it through the lens of how does this affect the actual individual that's involved, right? So taking on a budget for your household, that's a good
Mhm.
responsibility.
Yeah.
Taking on budgeting for CSU, that's a big responsibility. But then you're taking on budgeting for the entire state of Colorado. There's more
Oh,
responsibility in that one.
there's a lot of responsibility in terms of saying yes and no, or making recommendations to the governor about yes and no. And so what's was nice about the people I worked for is that their point of view, their perspective, their philosophy was fairly clear. So we had boundaries
Mm,
within which we had to work.
okay.
Also, a lot of statutory requirements where you have latitude, but there's certain rules and regulations that you have to follow.
Mm,
But the priorities, how you say yes, how you say no, how you deal with people,
hmm.
how to be creative, for example, all of those things were within the purview of the office. And yes, while I was the director of the office, it would be um, just really unfair and actually not even realistic to not talk about all the people it took to get the
Hmm.
job done. But
Sure. It takes an army. Of course it does.
yeah, but making sure you're prepared and what are the personal and professional standards you hold yourself to when you're going in and being an advisor. And that's really what it evolved to after I had the first run and to the second run. I had a consulting company and I kind of saw firsthand what's it like to be directly responsible for a client and directly responsible for going out and winning business.
Yeah.
And this idea of um, an invested and an accountable advisor, where
Hmm.
the trust was always high, and you were a true partner in the thing. So when I
Hmm.
came back, that was kind of the philosophy we tried to infuse into our program, and then so the role when you're sitting with your client. I used to call Governor Hickenlooper my client, and
Awesome.
everyone would start laughing, but it set a tone about
Right.
service, thinking from their point of view. It's not about my opinion, that sort of thing. So we had a good
Hmm.
environment. I could give my advice. I could say if I agreed or not, but he knew that he was getting the menu to pick from.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so to me, that was how to handle the responsibility.
Hmm. I like it. You acted as their advisor, and that makes sense to my brain because I'm a coach as well, right?
Yes.
So I'm the trusted advisor of a lot of business owners and holding that space for them, giving advice when I need to, making suggestions, giving different perspective, but ultimately the decision is theirs. So
Right.
is that what it came down to? Is that you presented it to the governor and then the governor said yes or no?
That's pretty much the way it works.
Okay,
And
cool.
and we used to say there's only one person in the room who has an election certificate. So the the difference of weight of responsibility was really pretty significant. Yes, it's an executive level job, and it's a big role to play, but um, that role of the governor making the decision, it's a big deal. And so
Mhm.
if you do your side of it, they can do their side of it um, more easily. Even though it's not always easy, you make it as
Mhm.
easy as possible.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, what made you confident in your decisions?
Um, this is what I learned when I first started at the Legislative Council. The philosophy of the office, it was nonpartisan, so it had to serve the whole legislature.
Hmm.
And if it was majority party or minority party, and over the years it bounced back and forth here in Colorado,
Hmm.
um, especially a long time ago. Now it's the Democrats are in charge, but it used to bounce around. But when I started, it was mostly Republicans in charge.
Hmm.
What gave me confidence, it started there, which was we do our research and we provide the facts regardless of what they say. Governor Owens asked us to do that, even if we were advancing an idea that was his. Show your work, produce the memos, and here's the math. So, fortunately, in this space, many times the math would give you the answer.
Hmm.
It wasn't necessarily my opinion, how it feels. You could actually show, does this program pay off? Is this required? You could create a fact pattern that's
Okay.
that's supported. And then the other thing that gave us confidence is we had this section of things we didn't know, and we called it risks, biases, and uncertainties. And
Mm.
one of my teammates brought this to us from a job she had formerly had, and we put that in the more major proposals.
Hmm.
What's risky about our advice? What might we be biased about? And what don't we know?
Hmm.
And when we could capture that whole thing, even the things you don't know, that's
Hmm.
knowledge. Um,
True.
so um, it wasn't that you thought you were 100% right. It's that you had a process that minimized the chances you were going to make a mistake.
Yeah, understand.
Yeah.
So,
So the process was probably our I would just let me sorry to interrupt you. It was really the philosophy of show your work with the
mhm.
process of knowns and unknowns.
Yeah, there's always a factor of figuring it out, no matter what you're doing,
Yeah.
right? So it's great that you had the math to really present some hard numbers or hard options for the governor. Awesome, great.
Yeah.
But there's still a degree of just kind of figuring it out, and that's the unknown piece of everything. So
Mhm.
I'm really confident in that space as a coach and advisor. Is I tell people business is simply just figuring it out every day and every week, and how flexible you are in that space makes it easier or harder. Like if you're super rigid and super in need of controlling everything, it's going to be harder for you to figure it out every day and every week, right? But that's the nature of business. So me figuring it out with each business owner looks different from the other because every business is different, every owner is different, every business has its own flow, its own rhythm, its own patterns that we have to step into as advisors, right? So it's
Great.
it's such a it's such a simple understanding of the business world, but when you grasp it like that, it's part of what gives me confidence in guiding and advising businesses is that I don't need to know all the answers because there are fundamental things that happen in every business, but outside of that, we're just figuring it out.
Yeah. And that process produces a lot of good results. And if you commit
Hmm.
to the time and being inquisitive and uh,
Hmm.
open to where your process goes, you'll more times than not, you'll find a place to go.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my confidence zone is if you're willing to let me figure it out with you, we'll figure it out.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need to know everything and I don't need to have all the answers straight away.
That's too much burden.
Right?
We need to know how to dig.
We
And
have enough gray hair already.
yeah, that's it. Platinum blonde. Platinum blonde.
Hey, it's the new in, right?
Yeah,
Like the
that's right.
gray. People
Yeah,
are dyeing their hair gray. So,
I've seen that. I have seen that in Even in television, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Not
Yeah,
pain.
I definitely don't need more gray hair, so let's keep that as simple as possible. No, I'm asking these questions because I'm so intrigued with your journey and the people that you've worked with and the responsibility involved. And your decisions make an impact on millions of people
Mhm.
when you're working in that space. And I get that, right? So I've had the weight of the world, the people in this world, so billions of souls on my little shoulders for my entire life,
Yeah.
and making decisions based on how is this going to affect me affecting the world. So I'm used to making decisions from that perspective, but that's not normal for the general public. So I just really respect the journey that you've had and the decisions that you've had to make and the weight that they carry.
Thank you. Yeah, some of the budget cuts, I still feel, some grief over them. We had
Mm,
a recession during Governor Owens's time, um, and parts of two recessions actually. And then coming out of the Great Recession was when I came back for with Governor Hickenlooper, and we had to propose, cuts in education, cuts in healthcare. Um, just painful. So,
mm,
uh, again, the process, how you deal with people, how you
mhm,
set up the framework, how you set up the pros and the cons. At least you can point to there was some thought and deliberative mechanism behind all that.
mhm, mhm.
Um, so yeah, there are some downsides to it. Even when there's growth, you're still saying no more times than you're saying yes.
Right. I
Yeah,
understand that. And the business community understands that. So
completely. Yeah, completely.
when I think of the pain that you experienced while making these budget cuts, I can now shift that to the business community and say when they have to fire somebody.
Same thing.
That's that's the most painful part for a business owner is to fire someone. So how did you manage the pain so it didn't destroy you? How did you manage the mental mess that comes with having to affect another person's life or multiple people's lives in maybe a seemingly negative way?
Yeah. Um, Looking back, I don't remember the exact toolkit. I think
Mm,
my the feedback I got over the years was listening, taking time, explaining things. That was the outward. Inwardly, I think I did, feel a lot of stress and internalize it, a lot of sleepless nights and stuff.
hmm
A book that helped this tension between the business decision and the human impact was called Touch Points. And I was very lucky to come across that in 2012. And the philosophy there is to be um, uh, tough on the business decisions, but tender-hearted with people.
mm,
There was a kind of an employee separation thing where I was really struggling with a particular situation. And that book just kind of appeared at the right time. And I got to spend
mm,
a little time listening to the author give a presentation on it. And that difference of, okay, there's a business decision to make, but you can be a human
right.
on the other side of it. So that toolkit went a long way for me. And then I started um, other explorations around coaching and
hmm
you know professional development that
hmm
just made me feel like my skill set just got bigger as opposed to just the technical side of my job. And I think just that kind of growing up stuff helped along the way as well. Um,
hmm
so no magic bullet. I don't think I have like, hey, do this and you won't feel stress. I think I just kind of adapted, but I will tell you, in in more ways than not, it's kind of a burnout job, and I did it for a long time. I was
hmm
really ready to jump to CSU. Um, uh, it's a great place. We do great things. The
hmm
just the structure, the calendar, the nature of the problems that you're facing. There's still stuff to work on and important things, but
hmm
weight of the world, the whole state budget is not, front and center every day. So
Right,
yeah.
understood. So before we jump to the CSU conversation, which I want to,
Oh
you
yeah.
did say something that I think is very beneficial for the audience is, make business decisions that are best for the business, but still be a human with a heart.
Yeah.
And I think that is crucial because that's how I look at everything. I look at what's best for the business that I'm working with, that I'm coaching with and advising with, what's best for them. But then I'm still dealing with the people as humans, and I still have a very tender heart for them. So you can do that no matter what you're doing. If you're firing an employee, if you're whatever it is that you're dealing with that might keep you up at night and stress you out, because we're people. And at the end of the day, unless you're completely heartless, firing somebody is going to hurt. And you're going to wonder, did you make the right decision for them? Yes, you made the right decision for the company, but is it the right decision for them? So, one thing that I do ask my people to look at is, maybe you're making the best decision for them possible because if they're performing poorly, you're enabling their poor performance. If you keep them on, you've already given them the warnings, you've already given them the talking to and the writtens and all the things, right? But at this point, if you enable that behavior and keep them on, you're actually hurting them. So I help to frame it differently and put a different perspective on it
I
for
think
people that are going through that.
I wish I had had you to talk to way back then. That's a very important perspective.
Mhm.
Something that helped me a little bit later too is the people who are pulling their weight and doing their job, keeping the lower performer around is also unfair to them.
Right.
Then you add, in from the point of view of resources, using the resources of your company or your public budget, whatever the case may be,
Mhm.
to their highest use is also a way of honoring, that it's a precious resource. So the framing, the investing in the correctness of the decision, but still, remembering there are humans involved.
Mhm.
I think that's the trick because some people don't care. However,
Right.
I'm not one of those people, and neither are you. So you
Correct.
have to find the framework that makes both sides work.
Hmm. Definitely.
Yeah.
And the other piece to that is that I tell them, the business owner that's struggling with the firing process is, hey, guess what? What if this is not the right fit for them clearly? What if you firing them sets them on the course for finding the job of their dreams or starting their own business and fitting where or finding out where they fit in life because this clearly isn't it, right? So that kind of perspective change is very helpful to the business owner so that they can sleep better at night and not get as much gray hair.
There, it's very easy to only imagine a small set of possibilities. And
Mm,
that perspective is out there as well. And it's not your job for everything after that. Um,
right.
yeah.
Our job is to do what's best for the entire company
Mhm. Yep.
and then let the chips fall where they may. So a lot of people get stuck in the weeds of, oh my God, how is this impacting their family? How is this impacting? Like, that's not your choice. They ultimately made the choice to perform poorly. So if they're performing poorly and that's why they're getting fired, they made that choice. You did not make that choice. You are simply reacting with a healthy boundary that
Yeah.
says bye, goodbye, leave the company
Yeah.
because you're protecting everyone else. You're protecting your company. So,
Yeah. One expression I've heard over the years is addition by subtraction.
mm,
And, by uh, somebody detracting, leaving can actually create an uplift in,
mm-hmm,
in overall morale. So it's important. You have to look at the whole side of the thing, and the the hard part of it is one side of it. Um, and if that's where your focus is, it's going to detract from doing it quickly, moving on. All those things. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Yep, definitely. So thank you for bringing up that point because it's very valuable for the business
You
community.
as
I
well.
really
Yeah.
Really appreciate that. It was fun to talk about. If you can't tell, it's one of my soapboxes. Uh, so let's move on to your work with CSU. Much more fun, still a high level of responsibility, but not millions of people depending on your decisions. So,
Mhm. Yeah. So the Colorado State University system is three schools. For the Colorado listeners, everyone is most familiar with the mothership up in Fort Collins, but we also have a campus in Pueblo, Colorado, CSU Pueblo, and an online school called CSU Global Campus.
mm,
So there's a system office that serves the campuses and presents kind of a front door to for a lot of different activities, government affairs, internal audit, treasury function. Our general counsel is there. Um, Even though, most of the activity of our corporation is up in Fort Collins.
mhm. Yeah, even being a Colorado native myself, I just knew about CSU Fort Collins. I didn't
Yep.
know about the other branches. So thank you for
Not
educating me.
sure. You're not alone. Getting the word out is part of the job. Yep.
Okay. So how did you get into the role of CFO for CSU?
Tony Frank, the chancellor, was creating a different platform for the system office to work from.
Hmm.
And he wanted to add a full-time CFO role. Prior to my being there, it was kind of a part-time thing. The campus CFO at Fort Collins was helping the system office. But needs at the system office were growing. And so I was actually recruited to come work for CSU. It was quite an honor. And so we had some nice conversations. I learned about the job, and it worked out really well as a place to go.
Hmm.
So I started as CFO, and then during COVID, um, another person at the office who's now the president at Fort Collins, she was the executive vice chancellor. She left CSU to go to the private sector for a little while. So I added a different role, and I was kind of serving as CFO and managing the state government affairs. And I did that for, kind of like late 2020 till about 2024. So I had
Mm,
those two kind of portfolios. And then now, as I've gone to halftime, I serve as the treasurer. So
hmm.
what we do there is we manage our investment portfolio, and we also work on all our debt issuances and managing the bonds that we have outstanding.
Okay. So as the CFO,
Yeah.
what needs did you fulfill within the organization?
So thankfully, we have the campus people doing a lot of the work for their own internal budgets. And so from the CFO side, I led the treasury team.
Hmm.
I did the high level budgeting that we presented to our board of governors for their annual approval. Um, we help people navigate, pros and cons of different financial decisions.
Hmm.
But the point of having a system office serving all three campuses, doing a little bit more as our system grew, but still having a lot of responsibility on the campuses was kind of the balance we struck. So it wasn't day-to-day campus stuff, but it was strategic planning, high-level budgeting for the board, the
Hmm.
treasury function, um, and helping people navigate um, state state budget issues as well, because we get a big chunk of funding from state government.
All right. I like it.
Yeah.
So more of like a bird's eye view of the financials, right?
Yeah, it was more of a strategic CFO kind of role,
Hmm.
because we also have a very strong controller's office that serve the whole um, board of governors, and they're housed at Fort Collins, and they would do kind of the hardcore accounting and journal entries and all the system stuff. So it was very much crafting decisions, setting up the budget process, the investments, that's a full-time thing too, um, for parts of the year. Uh,
Mm,
and full-time supervision, but you kind of weigh in quarterly,
hmm.
because we have kind of a long-term view of that. And then the debt issuances are very sporadic. Sometimes there'll be a big crush of work, sometimes it'll be pretty light.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I understand from my perspective as a coach and advisor, I look at the overall numbers, kind of like the bird's eye view of everything, but I don't get into the weeds of their
Mhm.
accounting.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now there's fractional CFOs that I can pull in for that kind of gig where it's like you want somebody that's going to play in the deep, deep details of your numbers. That's not me. So I kind of understand it from the role that I play.
Yes. The big picture takes a skill set.
Hmm.
Now, the the journal entry, the small picture, also takes a skill set, which actually I'm not that good at.
It
I
does.
was never very good at the accounting side of things. I knew the basics, and the people who do our accounting, I mean, they are meticulous. They
Hmm.
know the rules. They know the schedule. They know the right way to handle complicated transactions, and so um, that symbiotic relationship of the people who know how a transaction fits in the big picture as well as getting it
Hmm.
done on the ground. That's
Hmm.
what makes it the most fun. And we have a really cool team that knows the whole scope.
What was your favorite part of being the CFO?
The end. um,
I love it.
uh,
I told you guys he was
yeah.
funny. Told you.
um, the After it was over, I think the work we did as a team to navigate COVID um,
Mm,
ended up being the most gratifying thing.
yeah.
Came up with a creative way to kind of bridge from one spot to the next. Um, and then last year, I helped the state of Colorado figure out a problem, and then that helped us get a project into a budget bill that was a big deal for us. So
Mm,
I think those two things were probably the most fun. Just a really hard time during the pandemic. I know that we're all past it, and
yeah.
it's happily in the rearview mirror. But at the beginning of it, there were a lot of unknowns, and so
Hmm.
contributing to navigating that, I think, in hindsight, it wasn't yay fun. It was gratifying fun.
Mm. Challenges that you
Yeah,
figured
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah. That's satisfying, but you can walk away with a lot of battle wounds.
Yes, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. But knowing that we had patched things up and we didn't have to lose a lot of employees, we kept important programs for our mission of education
Hmm.
going. That's where the fun came from.
Sure.
Yeah, I think fun stuff. The board is appointed by the governor for
Mm,
CSU, and then each campus has faculty rep and we have student reps on our
mhm.
board. And so those board meetings and presenting and watching them interact and make decisions, those have had good moments for sure. I need to mention that.
Mm, yeah. There's a lot of awesome stuff that you experienced being the CFO of CSU. I know it.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Totally.
Not just the end.
Right. Not just the end. That's the funny part. The best part was the end. Okay, cool. Awesome. So, financially, what is one thing that you can share with the audience about
Hmm.
your financial forecasting that could potentially help the audience without giving financial advice?
Yes.
Mm,
Yeah, I'm not an advisor to the public for sure. And so I think in our current moment, whenever this gets published, we had our conversation here at the end of April of 2025. Um, Remembering that there's a long arc to investing, and there's a
mm,
long arc to such a big economy and complicated world economy. So, what we have done, and this was happening kind of before the big changes in federal policies, we were redoing our portfolio away from index funds for a longer time period to more short-term and medium-term strategy stuff that we needed our portfolio for. So we were migrating to bonds and fixed income for strategic reasons internally anyway.
mm,
That ended up having a little bit of a benefit as the stock market has had kind of a disruption here in the first part of 2025. But I feel like your team is really how you're going to get through your biggest problems. And at a big organization like we are, we're
Mhm.
lucky we get to hire in advisors. We have a board of governors. I work with very, very smart people.
Mhm. You're one of them.
And it is cool. I am one of them, but there's more than just me.
Yeah.
And I learned this from Governor Hickenlooper and his chief of staff, Roxanne White. The more people you involve in a problem, the chances of a better solution happening is higher. And so when I've had my toughest moments, I've been able to pick up the phone and call Tony, uh,
Mm.
call colleagues at the campus, call our financial advisor, and
Mhm.
say, "Here's what I'm thinking. You please tell me what I'm missing." And to that point, when we were redesigning the portfolio, I had kind of sketched out where I thought it should go, and but we have a very highly trained, highly skilled financial advisor as well for this part of
Mhm.
our work.
Mhm.
So I show my little crayon drawing to them, and they're like, how cute. Let us go back to our drawing board. We'll come back to you. And
How cute.
how cute. Very cute. What a nice drawing. Um, and they came back and found other angles and other things I didn't know were available to us
Mm.
that got us what we needed, but also kept us a little bit also still invested in stocks.
Yeah.
We had to just make a small change to our investment policy to do it. So I shared my problem. I consulted someone smarter than me,
Mhm.
and I got where I wanted to go quicker, and better positioned. So I feel like if I was to try to sell someone right now, late April 2025, here's my prediction, no one should listen to it. But
Right.
the process of what I just described has served me really well. And I would
Mhm.
say, um, in recommitting to what your strategic goals are, recommitting to
Mhm.
the people that you trust, maybe adding. You talked about that earlier in our conversation about who you
Mhm.
have around you.
Right.
I think, in our short time today, Misty, I would say that's what I would tell someone. Do you know where you want to go? And do you
Mhm.
have the people you need? Because I think just going solo has its merits. But for complicated things like we're dealing with right now,
Mhm.
I think it's very hard to do it solo.
Right. It definitely is. So that is a shameless plug for us as
As
advisors and
coaches.
coaches. You need one of us.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
um,
I have a coach. I'm paying my own money for my own coach still. So yeah.
right? And I've had lots of different
Yeah.
people, coaches and mentors along the way. So I have somebody that really helps me move my business forward, but he's also my tech guy. Yeah.
Right.
So it's different for different stages of the business, what you need, right? So he looks at my business from a tech standpoint and says, Misty, you need this for the future. And I'm like, cool. Now I'm going to get on with one of your team members and we're going to go create it because that's not my
Yeah.
strength, right? So it's great to have him as one of my advisors. And there's no way that I could ever do this journey alone. So, yes, that is a shameless plug for us as coaches. Like, go find a coach that works for
Yeah.
you. So, what I heard from you, real quick, just to recap, is for financial forecast to make sure that you look long term and rely on your team. Because for me, all of the information is in the details.
I agree. And I would just say if there's, if there's a tiger chasing you now, obviously you have to react to that.
Right.
And you may not have your ideal reaction. Those
But
situations.
don't run. Do not run. The tiger will eat you. Do not run.
Yeah, there's strategies for the emergency as well. But
Right.
I feel like this was more, you know, we're in a tough moment. So remember the things that got you to where you are is kind of the best advice that I have today.
Mm,
Yep.
yeah. Remember your roots.
Yeah.
That's good.
That was a nice summary, what you said. I agree with that.
Mm, yeah, I like that. So we're going to add look to your roots. What are your roots?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to simplify when the economy is a little weird. Simplify so you feel more comfortable with what you're working with.
I feel like overreacting or reacting too quickly. Again, not in the tiger is chasing you, house is on fire scenario.
Right.
There is a downside to that. It's
There is.
I know that quickness is sometimes overvalued in the business world. Um, and I think there is a place for it. Um, but these big things that where I've been successful in my roles,
Hmm.
where they've been significant problems, it was the thinking and consulting and deliberating time that gave us the payoff.
Hmm.
Even though we had short time periods for a couple of these things, I wouldn't trade a second of the time we spent making sure, you know, that we ran down different options and talked to
Hmm.
different people. So, yeah, I know it sounds like
Yep.
saying the same thing a different way, but
Look at it from all angles. That's what
yeah,
I'm hearing.
yeah.
Yeah. So pick it apart until you figure out what the right answer is, because there's a right answer in every question,
Mhm.
in every challenge that we face as business owners. There is a right answer. You just have to pick it apart until you find it. And sometimes in my world, in that space, I'm just sitting still and doing nothing and listening, and the answer comes. And sometimes I actually have to use my brain to pick it apart and, talk to other people. But meditation is a form of picking it apart and just figuring out the answer too. Like if exhausted all of your avenues, you've looked at all the options and you still don't have an answer, get quiet and meditate, please, because the answer will come. It always does.
I I would uplift that and yes, yes, yes. One of my favorite expressions is don't just do something, sit there. And
Yes.
I think when I heard it the first time, it just kind of just blew my mind,
Hmm.
turning it on its head, the conventional wisdom.
Hmm.
Um, and that's part of my practice, what you just described. And I wouldn't trade it for anything because it continues to pay off.
Same. 100%. Right. Like we need to get going, but this has been such a fun conversation. We're going
I
way over
agree.
my normal time.
Okay.
So I want to share something real quick with you in the audience because it applies to this. I have somebody trying to steal my clients right now in front of me, actively trying to steal my clients, and my
Oh,
clients are like, "Excuse me, what? You want us to jump ship? No, we love Misty. Like, go away." And I
wow.
love that. I love that my clients are loyal to me because I'm effective, and they also know that I care about them and their business above my finances, right? So I put them above my money and they understand that. But this gentleman is trying to steal my clients right in front of my face.
That stinks.
And I'm not reacting. I'm just being quiet and the answers are coming.
There you go. And there'll be better answers.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely not reacting because I'm like, try it, have fun. They're loyal to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this person, in time, it will come around.
Oh man, I
So
talk
patience
about
is key.
yeah, patience. Yeah. Um, that's a tough way to become a coach. Poaching clients. That because the coach E knows that you're that type of coach.
And the clients know it too.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I mean. Yeah, the coach E. So,
and what makes it even worse is that I've approached this gentleman multiple times and said, listen, we need to sit down and talk with each other so that if somebody is going to come to you that works with me, you're not trying to step on my toes
hmm,
and vice versa. And he's never respected me enough to sit down and have that conversation with me. And now it's backfiring because my clients are like, go away. No, the answer's no. And one of which is sending him an email that says, no, Misty's amazing. We're dedicated to her. Go away.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So they're protecting me, which is awesome. And I kind of need that sometimes because I'm a female in a man's world, and that's fine, right?
yeah.
I love being in the space that I'm in. But in this instance, with somebody trying to poach my clients right in front of me, that is the highest level of disrespect. And usually people react, and I'm not.
It's I mean, all businesses compete, but this seems very, very aggressive.
It
And
is,
yeah,
and it's very underhanded and it's
yeah,
very disrespectful. And it tells me that this person does not believe in his abilities and he is not confident and grounded in his approach to being a consultant. It tells me a lot of his insecurities and who he is as a person. So
yeah,
I'm just biding my time, not reacting and waiting for that to come around. So if I made the error of reacting in the moment, then it would reflect negatively on my business and my integrity.
yeah, right. And your reaction needs to reflect your values.
Yes, it does.
And that's going to be a happier modality no matter what.
And my confidence in my ability to show up for my clients and produce results is immovable. And then at
That's
the end of the
yeah.
day, perspective. If that person can actually steal a client from me, I don't need that client.
It's almost like the firing example. They'll go off and have a great life. Okay, fine. Our time is done here. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, totally. So, anyway, that's just my little story that I wanted to add to your
Well, my money would be on you. So,
thank you.
yeah.
I appreciate that. And my people know that I care about them, and that goes way further than any manipulative tactic that somebody can bring to the table.
No doubt. There's no doubt. Yeah.
Mm. Well, it has been an absolute honor
For me
to
too. Wow. Thank you.
have this interview with you. You've touched some amazing people and you've been put in some positions of power and responsibility that deserve honor and respect. So thank you for the work that you've done in those spaces.
Thank you, Misty. That's really nice. I'm so glad our paths crossed and we got a
Me
chance
too.
to do this conversation. Um, what a wonderful
Likewise.
conversation. Thank you.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I did as well, and I'm sure the audience is enjoying it. Now, if the audience wants to get in touch with you about anything CSU related, how may they do so?
Okay, so csusystem.edu is the main website, and then there's a
Mhm.
team page there. My bio and how to contact the system office is there. I'm also on LinkedIn, just Henry Sobanet. You can find me there, and yeah, that's where I'm out in the world now, mostly.
Wonderful. Well, I hope to have you back on as a guest again in the future.
It would be my honor. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, you guys, it has been a joy to bring this conversation to you. And until next time, we will see you soon. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to the Wealthy Mind podcast. Please be sure to download the Wealthy Mind app today and make sure to support your local Dress for Success.